Hi, Cutie Pies. It is Lanikia, and I'm coming to you with Four Weddings and a Funeral, season 7, episode, season 1, episode 7, called The Sound of Music. So this episode is, in a nutshell, it's about Kash wanting to do this play, and the theater is falling apart. So he needs help raising money for it. So, in order to raise money for it, he needs to have don't you know sponsors, investors. And so he sends out this mass email. He sends out the email. He hesitates on if he should add Maya or not. Decides that he's going to go ahead and add her. He sends the email out. He adds Maya to it. She looks at the video, then she closes it. I guess because I don't know why. Like, you were already looking at it, might as well finish it. Okay. So then we see Maya meets up with Duffy. He's had it with Maya. He doesn't really care. Duffy is a mess. He's pretty much had it with Maya. He doesn't care too much about, why they want to do it, what she wants to talk about, but he's there. She tells him, please don't tell Ainsley. He says, oh, now I have to keep your secrets and everything too. Duffy, I feel like, yes, I do believe Maya used him. I don't care. Like, I know people like Maya, but I think she used him. But Duffy, you knew she didn't really feel like that towards you. I think you felt that the whole relationship, but he was so in love with her, and he's been so in love with her for so long, that I think his crush became almost like an obsession with, if I could just get her, if I could just get, she's the girl of my dreams, she's the girl. Because he couldn't have her, it made him crush harder on her, is what I'm trying to say. And so he didn't see all like the flaws and everything that she had. He just saw that he wanted his crush, and now his crush has betrayed him, which he should have known that he was never going to get that. That crush was not for him, because she didn't like him like that. Like Duffy, remember the episode when they got together? We were like, this came out of the blue, because I never saw her showing any type of emotions or feelings towards him. But anyways, so after she finds out that he's not going to tell Ainsley, she tells him, I read your story in the New Yorker. And he's like, okay, we're not going to do this small talk. We're not friends. So he gets up and he leaves. And then we see Maya's looking for a job, because, she's unhappy in her current job that she stole half the salary from Marcus from. But I digress. So then we see Bashir feels guilty. Bashir feels guilty about the whole Maya and Fatima and Kash thing, but Kash just finally admits to him that he likes Maya, and Bashir is like, oh, I should have known that, and he's like, that's gonna be tricky because, you were engaged to her best friend and whatever. He's like, I know it's complicated and all that. So, but in the end, Bash just tells him love is love and you can't help it and all that. I don't care. Like, I don't, it's not that I don't care about the scene. It's like, I'm so sick of hearing all these people be like, well, love is love. But when you hurt people, love is not love. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's my only thing is, like, when you hurt people, you don't get to just say, well, love is love, and then go about your day. Like, get out of here. So then Ainsley is still with Garrett. They just sleeping with each other. This is not a relationship. And so then we get to Gemma and more of Duffy being a mess. So Duffy is giving these, I'm going to wrap Duffy up for this episode. So Duffy is giving these tests and everything. Duffy is going to the school. He is putting his emotions and everything onto these children. Like he is downing women and, telling, about being heartless and how they destroy you. But Gemma finds one of the tests because, her son is in Duffy's class. And she's like, I'm not paying a small fortune for you to not teach my son Latin. And so Duffy is just a jerk to her. And so she goes and she reports him. And then she goes and she reports him and everything. So he has to have someone watch his class. The person who's going to watch his class is none other than Tabby. And he's upset because Tabby is giving him the business in this class or whatever, because she's still upset because of the way he dumped her to get with Maya. And so he finds Gemma, like after class and everything, he finds Gemma, she's walking the campus, and he tells her, like, what was Gemma just doing walking the campus? But anyways, he tells her, you, because of you, I guess she was picking up her son. He tells her, because of you, I have to have someone in my class watching and all this. And she says, you're a mess. Pull yourself together. He tried to compare his relationship with Maya to Gemma losing her husband. And she was like, I know you are not. And I was like, Duffy, I like you, but I know you did not just compare those two, because they are not the same at all. And so, she tells him he's an idiot and he needs to get himself together. And that was that. He actually does start to get himself together. So then we see, and that's pretty much the end of Duffy. We see him on another scene where he finally tells Maya that he forgives her, and that, like, he's over it. He won't tell Ainsley, like, she's good with him or whatever. And that's pretty much wraps up Duffy and wraps up Gemma as well. So we got them out of the way. So then the theater. They need sponsors. He sent out this email and everything. Marcus has saw Maya gazing at this darn email I don't know how many times. So, okay, so Ainsley, Tony 2, Ainsley, Tony 2, and Maya go out to this gay club. So they go out to this gay club and they're having a good time, and Andrew is there because Andrew is gay and he enjoys the club scene. So he's at this gay club. He comes over and speaks to them, and Tony 2 gives Andrew the business. He pretty much tells him, maybe you were that Andrew in the beginning when you first started your career, but now we look at you as LGBT Rex because you don't do anything to help the community or whatever. Andrew is offended because he's like, excuse me, because he feels like he's done a lot to help the community. He was like, no, you help older white guys now. You don't help us anymore. You don't help the people who are really in need. You don't help them anymore. And so Andrew's feelings was a little hurt. So Ainsley and Maya are like, let's go. So they leave those two alone at the club. And then we find out that Tony 2 was really going hard on Andrew as well because they had slept together and Andrew did not remember him. And so that irritated, Tony 2 a little bit as well. So the next day, Maya, Marcus, and Andrew are at work the next day, and Andrew says, I don't want to be looked, because they show like where they do make fun of him online and everything, and he's like, I don't like this, fix my image. And so Maya says, why don't we get you to give back to the community, do something that would help the people where they can look at you as like, oh gosh, he's he's the politician that cares. And he's like, yes. And so Marcus brings up the community theater. And Maya's like, no, I didn't mean that. And Marcus was like, he explains what it was to Andrew, and Andrew loves it. And he's like, yes, we're going to do it. Let's go for it. So they go over to the community theater and everything. And Andrew sees, there's these low income brown kids and all that kind of stuff. So he's like, yes, I'm going to do it. And he was like, Maya, I want you to run point. And he wants her to run point because she's a person of color. Y'all know how that goes. But I thought it was funny because Marcus was like, Maya was like, it was Marcus' idea. And of course, and plus he finds out that Kash and Maya know each other. So he's like, yeah, let's all that'd be great. Plus she's a person of color. Let's go ahead and do this. Make me look good in the community. So they do, and we see Maya and Kash working together. Maya does not tell Ainsley this. I am mind blown why they keep these things from Ainsley. You know what I mean? Like, just tell her. You could, you didn't want to do it because she did. Like, I will say that about Maya. She tried to avoid doing it, but he forced you to do it. Go to your best friend and just tell her that, and just be like, listen, girl, you want me to help on a bill or two? I got to have a job, and this is part of my job right now. They make these so complicated. They make it too complicated. So anyways, they do work on the theater and everything, and it's going well. Maya and Kash start working together, and they enjoy spending time with each other and everything. And then, okay, so before, I know I wrapped up Duffy, but there's one more part. He finally apologizes to Tabby. And he tells her he's sorry, he was a jerk, and she says, oh, I don't care about you anymore. She's moved on to a new writer, which is Nicholas Sparks, who did Dear John, did The Notebook, stuff like that. So that was a cute little scene. Well, they didn't say who he was, but the license plate on the end when she got into the car said it. So she was like, "Yeah, I'm dating another American writer who writes romance novels and everything." So she did better. So then we go to and we see Duffy is cleaned up and everything, and Gemma tells him that she likes his new look. He looks good. Bash has to be the chaperone for no, Cash has to be the chaperone for Bash and Fatima. Later on, I'm just really going because this episode wasn't much. It was kind of like one of those filler episodes where they catch you up because they're about to bring you home or whatever. So he's the chaperone for them. We see that they're going along great. They're gonna probably end up getting married and everything with that. So then we see that Maya meets up with Ainsley, and Ainsley just tells her, "Oh, I miss you." And Maya feels a little guilty because the reason she misses Maya is because Maya's working so much, and Maya won't just admit where she's working, who she's working with. Whew, child. Um, so then we see Bryce. Ainsley finishes Bryce's garden because earlier she was done decorating for him, and he was like, "Oh, um, do my garden," because he likes her. So that was his way of keeping her around. So she's done with his garden. It looks really great, and he kisses her. And she tells him, I have a relationship. It's serious. I'm like, girl, you and Garrett are not serious, and she knows they're not serious or whatever. But so Bryce comes by later on, and he just tells her like he likes her and everything, and she doesn't at this moment it's like she likes him, but I don't think she realizes that she likes him like that. So he leaves or whatever, and she ends up breaking up with Garrett, who's not that upset about it because he was just looking for somebody to smash. Because as soon as she breaks up with him, he accidentally sends her the text with another woman's name in it, asking her what she's doing that night. So then we see it's the night of the event is coming to the theater event. They're gonna perform The Sound of Music. The kids are, and Andrew had tried to get Tony 2 to come out with him earlier because he had apologized and everything, but Tony 2 declined to go, and because he doesn't like he thinks Andrew is only doing this with this theater to look good in the press, which that was true. Because later on, before the night of the event, Andrew tries to pull out because he says, "Oh, they're telling me this is not a good look and everything, that I shouldn't be doing this." But Maya shows him an old video of himself when he was younger and how he used to fight for the people and how he made a promise that he would fight for the people that did not have a voice. So that helped. Talking to Tony to help. So he decides to go ahead with it and keep his funding because he's funding this personally. Keep his funding in all of this. So now the night of the performance has come, and they're performing, and he and Andrew meet, and Andrew just Tony too apologizes to Andrew because he said it did hurt his feelings that Andrew didn't remember him. It hurt his feelings, and so Andrew was like, he could understand that. Anyways, they make up. They're gonna get in some kind of relationship. You could tell because they go in and sit together at the theater at the event, and they hold hands. Now, while they're doing this, Cash is on stage, right? And he's looking directly at Maya with his longing in his eyes. Tony 2 sees this, and he's like, "What?" So Tony 2 sees this, and he's just like, "Okay." So after the event, Cash's dad goes up to him, and he's just like, "I'm happy you have a hobby," because Cash still has not let it be known that this is more than just a hobby. So Garrett, oh, and that's all. So that's pretty much the end of that episode. The big thing out of this episode is that we see Duffy is over Maya. Great, because you shouldn't have ever got with her anyways. He's not going to tell Ainsley. We see Ainsley is doing this thing with Bryce where she kind of likes him, but he's older and she doesn't know. But we definitely know he likes her. But at this point, she doesn't really know how she likes she likes him as much as she does. We see that. Then we see that. Did they even show Craig and Zara? I'm sure they did. Oh, Craig and Zara had came back and Duffy had messed up their place, but that was pretty much it with them. But then we see that that was pretty much it. That Kash and Maya really got to know each other better during this whole event. So let us go to For Weddings and a Funeral Game Night. This is season 1, episode 8. Okay, so Kash and Maya get to know each other better. Now they have spent the whole night with each other. They stayed out all night long. They stay out all night long, right? Getting to know each other because they kissed at the end of the last episode. And so Maya finally goes home. And they agreed that they're not going to date, but they're going to hang out and be friends and just get to know each other. So Ainsley confronts Maya when she goes home, and she was like, "Were you with Kash last night?" And Maya she's coming out of the shower. She didn't expect this, and she's like, because she doesn't know what Ainsley means. And then Ainsley says, "Tony too said that you were at the event and Kash was there too." Tony too is a real friend. He didn't go into details because I'm sure he didn't know the details, but that was, to me, is his way of giving Ainsley the heads up. Maya lies and said, "Oh, it was Marcus' thing, and and I just went to support Marcus." And Ainsley's like, "But I thought you didn't like Marcus like that." And she's like, "Oh, he kind of grew up me. You know how when we first met Craig." And Ainsley's like, "Oh yeah. Oh, does Kash look bad now?" Ainsley, I get it. He left you at the altar, and that was horrible. But at some point, you're gonna I don't. Let's get over it. Let's go ahead and get over it. So then we see Tony 2 and Andrew are in bed together because Tony 2 has spent the night and everything, and they want to start a relationship. Andrew has never been in a relationship. Usually he just sleeps with the guy because I don't know, because he says things were so different for him. Like, you couldn't get married, you couldn't have children. Things were different for him growing up and as a becoming an adult, being a gay man. And now everyone is like, it's changed. Like, so many rights and rules have changed for them and everything. So he and Tony 2 are just exploring their relationship. That's pretty much what that is. So Craig and Zara go to a man because she wants to brand herself, because she's like, "I'm hot right now. I need to hurry up and capitalize on this before people forget about me." And Zara said she wanted to endorse flying cars, and that man said, "Let's do something that's actually can happen. Like, you want to do waist training? What do you want to do?" I was like, "Why don't she just do like clothing, shoes, or makeup or something like that?" But anyway, so that's going on there. Andrew is taking Tony 2 to an event. He has Maya at Tony 2 as his plus one at an event. And then we see Kash tells Craig he has an audition. He has an audition coming up for a commercial and everything. So his acting, he's not getting the parts that he wants, but at least he has auditions going. So then we see Gemma and Ainsley talk, and she says she has to get a So Gemma and Ainsley talks, and Gemma is just like, "You like Bryce. I don't know why you're denying this." And she was like, "No, I don't like him, but I need to get this book from him, and I can't get this book from him because it's awkward between him because he kissed her last episode." So she sends Gemma over to get the book, but she also gives her like a cactus. Tell him he only has to water it once a year or whatever. And she was like, "Oh yeah, because this is what we get people, like, we think about that kind of stuff for people we don't like." But Gemma's over it. She goes ahead and goes over there. So Kash and Maya go to Bashir's place to hang out because they're afraid of being. That's how you know they're doing something wrong. Like, oh, child. So they're afraid of being seen, so they decide to go to the Bashir's place because they're like, it won't be romantic. They go to Bashir's place, and there's rose petals everywhere. It's really cute. And he's asking Fatima to marry him. So then we see Kash and Maya get to know each other more. Like, it's one of those episodes where, they're just playing music and then there's no words or anything. So Kash and Maya get to know each other. Ainsley comes to get Maya for lunch. Then Ainsley comes to get Maya for lunch, and she had made something with Kash and she threw that down or whatever. And she meets Marcus while she's there. So then Andrew and Tony 2 go to this event for it's a flower, it's a plant. They go to for flower, and they go to the event, and he finds out that Andrew is voting against immigration. He's voting to close the borders and everything. He's voting yes to close the border because he's like, my vote won't matter. I'm just gonna stay with my party. I don't want to cause waves. I don't want, he wants to keep his seat. So then we see that Cash takes a call. Okay, so Cash and Craig have been working on this project that Cash has really not been helping Craig with or whatever. And they're about to make the presentation. They're at work in a board meeting. Cash gets a phone call and he takes it. And not only does he take it, I guess he got the audition and he starts, like, you could tell that he's excited because it's a job and you could tell. Anyways, and he got fired. His boss said, you took another job while you were at work. And he's like, what am I going to say with my father? Tell my dad. And the boss was like, it's not like you live with your dad. But Cash does. Like, that was not a smart decision. If you had to take a phone call, you should have curtailed your excitement until afterwards and act like it was an emergency or something. You know what I'm saying? But whatever. So then Tony 2 tells Tony so Tony 2 and Andrew are going out, right? And they run into Tony 1. And Tony 1, oh, like, ugh. And Tony 2 didn't want Tony 1 to know that he was dating Andrew. And so Andrew had, he's in his feelings like, excuse me? But anyways, they moved on from that. And so it was an awkward situation because they're just like, because Tony 2 was clearly embarrassed to be seen with Andrew. So then Duffy goes to Bryce with Gemma. So Gemma, and she pretty much tells him, we're going to come in and we're going to talk or whatever. So she's playing matchmaker. Then we see Maya and Cash celebrate his acting job. And he gives her the invite to Bashir's wedding. And they argue about going out on dates. Because he's like, listen, I'm going to start dating you. And she was like, no, my friend, like, I could lose my friends because of you. I just want to get to know you and see where it goes from there. She doesn't want to take the risk, is what she's saying. Because she doesn't want to risk dating him and it only lasts for like 6 months. Excuse me. Excuse me, my sinus. And it only lasts for like 6 months and then losing her friendships with her friends forever because of that. And they get into an argument about it. He's upset. So then we see Tony 2 and Andrew are at dinner. And Tony 2 breaks up with Andrew. He just completely breaks it off. He says, Andrew is, I didn't get it because Andrew was compromising. He was, he wanted to make it work with Tony 2. You could tell that, whatever Tony 2 was needing, he was going to give to him because he wanted to make this work with him. But Tony 2 breaks up with him, and Andrew is, upset about the breakup, of course. So he, because Maya asked him, are you going to take a date to this other event they have going on? And he's like, no, I'm not taking anyone. And he's just like, so he's like, oh, he hears about the game night because Maya said something about game night, and he was like, with Craig, and he was like, oh, Craig, you could tell him and Craig that I said they can both go to hell or something like that. And then she's like, Craig is married, like, you don't want, and he was like, oh, well, send my regards or whatever. So Craig and Cash talk, and he lets them know that he lets Craig know he has not told his dad about getting fired yet. And Craig is upset he didn't. Okay, so he told his dad he didn't get fired because they're walking and talking, just catching up. And then Craig is like, so he says something about him and Maya. No, he doesn't say anything about him and Maya. He tells him about Bashir's wedding, and Craig is like, I didn't get an invite to the wedding. How many people are there? And he was like 500. And he was like, why didn't I get an invite? He gave him the mind. I don't think Craig was really upset. Maybe just a part of him was just ego a little bit. But that was that. Keep in mind, Craig knows about this wedding. I think that's all that scene was really to do, is make us realize that Craig knew about Bashir's wedding. So then Ainsley goes to visit Craig. And she tells him she's worried about Maya. And he says Duffy told him about this letter that Maya had written. And he feels like Maya's not upset about Duffy or anything like that. She's upset about whoever this letter was about. And so Ainsley thinks the letter was about Marcus. I said, how, sis? But anyways, we're going to move on from that. So Fatima and Bashir get married. So it's the night of the wedding, and it's gorgeous. The wedding is gorgeous. So they also have the same night they're having game night, and Andrew and Marcus show up to game night because Andrew shows up. I don't think nobody invited Andrew. He just showed up because Maya had spoken about game night, and he wanted to see Tony too because he knew Tony too was going to be there. Ainsley invited him because she's trying to play matchmaker. And Maya lies and tells Ainsley and Craig that she was out all night with Marcus because they confront her about, she was like, why is Marcus here or whatever. And so they tell her about, they know she likes Marcus. And if you weren't at, and she was like, what? And they were like, well, if you don't like Marcus, then who are you out with? And she was like, it was Marcus because she doesn't want to, them to know. And so Zara at this game night has a book called she has a board game called No Secrets, which I think the words were all together and it's No Secrets, no secrets, something how you pronounce it. But anyways, that's that. So then Cash so a friend comes up to Cash's dad and he tells him, about his son, and Cash's dad throws shade because he was like, oh yeah, he's still doing those comic books or something. Oh, I feel bad for you. Something like that. And his dad was like, The other man, he was like, He said, how's Cash doing or whatever? And he was like, oh, he's doing so well. He's, has a good job and all that kind of stuff. And he said, oh, I heard he got fired. He said, because, my son that does those comic books, he says he sees Cash at Starbucks all day while he's doing his comic books. And then to add insult to injury, he goes and tells Cash's dad, oh, and by the way, my son sold his comic books to Marvel's. And so Cash's dad is just like, what? Cash does not get fired. If anything, he's fired up because he's, doing so well. But so now Cash's dad is like, what is going on? So then we see Ainsley keeps pressing Maya to make her move on Marcus. I hate a friend like that. Like, I was like, Ainsley, leave it alone. But anyway, so Cash's dad confronts Cash, and Cash says he wants to be an actor. And his dad is upset because he was like, me and your mother struggled. We got made fun of for our religion. We got made fun of for our looks, the way we dressed. But we wanted you to have a better life. And this is what you do with it? Or whatever. He's upset about that and everything. Okay. So then Zara has I told you about that. She has a game called No Secrets, and she's doing the game and everything. And then here comes Bryce. He shows up, and she's like, "What?" Zara's like, "What is going on?" Because she's filming all this, because she's trying to promote a brand and give them good content, like commercials and all that kind of stuff, and footage of them playing the game. So Bryce shows up, and she's like, "What? Who invited all these people? Like, y'all." Which that's rude. Like, y'all could have said, "Hey, Zara, I invited this guest." But Bryce shows up because Gemma and Duffy invited him to the event. So then they start playing the game No Secrets. And so they're all there playing, and we see that Bryce knows a lot about Ainsley. And because the game, you ask a question and the person has to tell the truthful answer. So he knows a lot about Ainsley. And then Gemma knows about Duffy. He tried to deny his favorite book, but she was like, it's in your book bag or whatever. And she pulls it out. He's like, okay. It's my favorite book. You know what I'm saying? So then we see Maya. Okay, so then they asked Andrew a question. And he gives this heartfelt answer about his first love and how it went and how his first love died. And somebody said of AIDS. I'm like, no. His first love was in a plane crash. So he was in love with this man, and he felt like he wasn't good enough. It was an older man. He just felt like he wasn't good enough, and he wasn't comfortable coming out. It was just a lot of stuff going on, and he realized that was his first love. That was the love of his life, and he died. And he said he realized in that moment he had made a mistake, and like he had all them in their feelings, and they're looking like, dang. So it made Bryce look at Ainsley, it made Maya think about Cash. It just made them all in their feelings. It was a really touching moment. And so it made Tony too look at him differently as well. So then we see that Ainsley talks about Bryce, and she tells Gemma and Duffy that he's older than her, and she doesn't like she if she wanted to date her, he's from Texas, he's a country, and if she wanted to date someone, she would date one of her dad's friends. So Bryce hears that, and he's like, well, dang. So he leaves, and then Andrew and 22 talk. And he tells Andrew, the reason why I broke up with you is because I don't have my papers. So the people that you want to keep out of this country or get rid of and all that, that's me. I'm an immigrant. And he just explains why he broke up with him. And so Kash and Maya talk, and Marcus called. Okay, so Kash and Maya are talking, right? And she tells him she's going to tell Ainsley that night, about them being together. And in the middle of that, Marcus has found out because he's trying to approach Ainsley, and she's like, I don't want you. I thought you wanted Maya or whatever. He was like, no, why would I want Maya? So he realizes that he thinks Maya is in love with him. And so he calls to try to let her down, and he hears a wedding going on in the background. And then she gets off the phone with him because the wedding's going on and they're about to do that. And so then when that happens, he tells Craig, and Craig is like, he tells Craig about, Maya and how she rushed him off the phone and y'all are playing a game because he thinks it's all a joke. And Craig is like, what wedding? And so that's when Craig finds out. Craig puts it together that, oh my gosh, Kash is the guy that Maya wrote the letter about. So he knows now. So then we have Zara, who was upset because she's like, oh my gosh, my game didn't go, well, which actually I thought her game, that was golden content. And her game went really well, but she's like, my game didn't go well. What is my legacy going to be and all that? And then he was like, babe, like, it feels like it's something else wrong with you. Like, you're really intense, and so she takes a pregnancy test and she finds out she's pregnant. So then Ainsley goes to Bryce, y'all, and she realizes she likes him. She wants to be with him. And he shut that door in her face. He said, I'm too old for this. And he closed that door. He was like, you're right. I'm old or whatever, but I know one thing. I'm definitely too old for this. And, because the speech she gave him, y'all, was just trash. Talking about, you're too old for me, we don't make sense, and I don't understand it, and I'm just, it's almost like she was just like, okay, I'm going to just settle for you. Or whatever, and he was like, I'm too old for that. Like, I don't want somebody like that. And so he shuts that door in her face, and that's how that went off. That was, that's how it went off and everything. So now we go to 4 Weddings and a Funeral, Season 1, Episode 9, 4 Friends and a Secret. Give me just a moment. I binge watched these, y'all. They should have gave these at the beginning, because I would have been doing every episode had they did that, because this show started off slow to me. And I know a lot of people say, no, you just got to keep watching. It's cute. No. These last few episodes have been amazing. Those first 2 episodes were slow as crap, and I like, don't do that again. If there is another season, which I don't know if there will be, because it's called a season finale that's going to come on tomorrow, but honestly, it's supposed to have wrapped up, and depending on how the viewers watch this show and everything, is if they're going to get another season. I don't know how they're doing as far as people watching. I know they don't get a lot of activity, because I went to their Facebook page, and I see activity on it, but I don't see, like, it's not like The Handmaid's Tale, you know what I mean? Anyways. Alright, let's go. So Maya and Kash have slept together. So she wakes up in his bed and everything, and she says she's going to tell Ainsley. So and then she's gonna tell Ainsley about them. So then we cut to the next scene, and we see Andrew and Tony 22 want to move in together, and Andrew is not going to vote on the bill. He tells Tony the bill won't pass. I'm not gonna vote on the bill or whatever, because it won't pass. So even though Tony 2 is like, I don't like that you're going to vote for it, and I don't like being with a man that would do that anyways, he's reassuring him, like, it won't pass. It doesn't matter what my vote is. I'm just staying with the party so I can try to help, in other ways, but I have to be with the party to try to make a difference. So then Craig tells Zara that he thinks Maya and Kash are hooking up. And she's like, what? And he was like, yeah, I think they're hooking up. And he says, I don't know what to do about this or whatever. And she tells him, sir, we're not going to do anything about this. Like, don't say a word to anybody about this because it's not your business. And I saw in the comments people don't like Craig and Zara. And I'm like, what? I like them together. Like, I could believe how some people, well, anyways. But I agree with Zara on this. Don't tell anybody. This is not your business. You don't know 1000%. Like, so until you know something for sure, stay out of it. Yes, that's exactly what he should do. So then, of course, Zara's pregnant. They're excited about her being pregnant and everything. And so Maya comes in, and Gemma and Duffy were there, and Ainsley is upset because of Bryce and everything. And she just tells them how she messed it up, and Gemma was like, yeah, because you can't, like, Duffy and Gemma was like, yeah, you called a man old several times, and then pretty much said, oh, I'm just gonna date you, you should be lucky to have someone like me, and she sounded very shallow, and they called her out on it, and she needed to be, because she did sound very shallow when talking about him. So then Ainsley realizes that she loves Bryce, that after all this time, just being around him, she loves him. So then we see Duffy is helping get Gemma, and she gets up. So he's been helping her and everything. She had a drawer that was messed up, and he used WD-40 to, stop the squeaking. He's been helping around the house. He works for her because he tutors, her son, Giles. But anyway, she gets up. She's upset because he has a date. He's starting a date again. He doesn't know how she feels about him, but it is what it is. So then we see Ainsley pops up at Bryce's home, right? And oh my gosh, y'all, that garden was gorgeous. So she's done the garden. She put some steaks on it. She wants to surprise him with a romantic dinner. He brings a gorgeous woman in, and she's like in her feelings because she thought he was just going to be kicking his heels or whatever. And I'm like, so she got egg on her face. So she slowly starts making her way out and everything. And she tells him without, just putting it out there that she realizes he's a great guy and he's a great catch. And she wished she would have realized that earlier and everything. Maya tells Marcus has to tell Marcus again, like, I don't want you, sir. Like, Marcus, move on. So that was that scene. So Craig is sad about Molly because they're active doctors and everything. They're confirmed that they're pregnant. They're giving them a pamphlet because, Zara doesn't know anything. So they're giving them a pamphlet, and they ask them both, do you have children? And she says no. He says yes. And it's not that she was saying no to be malicious. It's just that they don't get to see Molly, and she's never there. She just said it out, and he says yes, and she's like, oh yes, he has a daughter, and so they talk, and he's like, I don't get to see her, and he's upset about that, but he says, I signed over my rights, so I don't have a right to get to, to see her and everything. And you could tell that bothered Zara, because I don't care what all these people say about they don't like her or whatever. I like her because she's for Craig. The only reason she even went on that dating show and everything was to prove to him, like, you're going to miss me when you lose me. And so then we see Craig is watching the Instagram of Molly, because he can see Molly in the background. So it's like the dad who coaches. He shows his kid doing nothing, but Molly, sometimes you can see her in the background, and that's how he's able to keep up with her. So Maya gets a job interview in New York, and it's a perfect job for her because she gets to work with women, and she gets to go after issues that she believes in, which she's not able to do now with Andrew. Most of everything that he believes in, she does not. So then we see Zara meets Craig's ex. She pretends like she's hurt, and she meets Craig's ex, and she just really tells her that Craig deserves to see his daughter too. Like, she needs him in his life. And the ex, Julia, does tell her, like, well, Molly has been asking about, her dad and everything. So she agrees that he can come to the soccer game, but he has to stay in the background. He can't interfere. And Zara's happy about that. She gives her a hug and she's like, too soon, or whatever. I love Zara. It's a cute little line. Oh, at the last episode, while I'm thinking about it, they had this meaningful moment between Bash and Fatima where after you get, I guess you get married, you see each other as a couple and you look in the mirror. And that was such a beautiful moment. I don't know why they just popped in my head, but I didn't talk about it on the last episode. And since I ran all these three together, y'all gonna bear with me. But that was such a beautiful moment. It was nice. Anyways, oh yeah, Maya and Kash looked at each other too. Y'all know I can't stand them. But Gemma is jealous and fires Duffy because she is jealous that he is going on this date, and she's like, no, I'm not gonna drive you or whatever. And she fires Duffy, and she did it in a fit of emotions, but she fired. But I don't know. Well, I guess because if they're not gonna have another season, they did, and they wanted these two to get together, they did have to kind of carry that along. But I would have loved for this episode, because it is a limited series, if it could have been more seasons than just this one, possibly. But if they were for sure that it was more seasons than just this one, I would have really liked to see them develop Duffy and Gemma's relationship. I like it because, like, she's one of my favorite people on here as well. So I like it, but I would have liked to see more development, the development of the relationship. So Maya talks with Ainsley, and she's going on a date. So she really doesn't have that long to talk to Maya, but she's like, if you could just, but she just tells her about Bryce and how she's getting over him by just throwing herself into dating again. And Maya doesn't feel like it's the right time to tell her, because Ainsley literally is running out of the door as she's talking to her. So then Ainsley goes on her date, and y'all, it's horrible. She has a bad date, and Bryce shows up, and he says Maya told her where he would be, and he tells her that that was his sister the night before. And look at Maya, telling Bryce where, because why? Could it be that because she wants Ainsley to go ahead and get with Bryce, so maybe, just maybe, she could be like, well, I'm with Kash now. Anyways, y'all, I'm so petty. Anyways, Bryce, they tell the guy to leave, and then Bryce goes on a date. They make up. They decide they want to try to date each other and everything. So it's cute, and we saw this coming. Bryce liking her, and she's starting to like him or whatever, and it's good. It's good. So then we see Maya has gotten the job in New York. So she tells Maya gets the job in New York. She does eventually she tells Kash about it and everything, and he wants to go with her. He's going with her to New York, where they could just live this happily ever after, start over. So then we see Zara take Craig to the game, and she has him blindfolded. So when he goes, he's like, I know where we are, what's going on? And she takes the blindfold off, and he's like, no, I can't be here. And she was like, no. I talked to Julia, and she says, as long as you stay in the background, it's okay. So, he's trying to stay in the background, but, he's like, oh my gosh, they're not playing my baby. It's cute. It's cute, y'all. So then we see Maya talks to Kash, and so Kash can't go to New York because he told his brother about Maya getting the job and everything, and that he thinks he wants to go with her. And his brother was like, you're so darn selfish. Like, we need you here, and here you are about to go to New York. Because, one, he wants to go to New York because he'll be able to chase his dreams more, and two, Maya's there. And so his brother's upset, and listen. I have this thing with Kash where I do think, because he was living off Ainsley, and then he went back home, and his dad was working all that stuff, and it was like, why wasn't you helping your dad more so he wouldn't have to work so many hours? And now you're going to New York. I don't fault him for wanting to go to New York to be with the love of his life and to have his own life. But I think he should have went to his brother with like a plan. a plan in place. Like, this is what's gonna happen. You're gonna be taken care of or whatever. And maybe his brother wouldn't have took it so bad and be like, you know what I'm saying. But it is what it is. But he tells her he can't go to New York, that his dad needs him. His brother is upset, and his dad can hear him telling her this. So then we see Andrew. They see that Andrew has to vote for the party because they got enough people on their side that if he has to vote against the party if he doesn't want this immigration bill to pass, because this whole time he's like, oh, the Scots won't do it. The Scots won't do it. Well, they convinced them to go ahead and do it. And so now the bill will pass. But he secretly didn't want this bill. He was happy because the bill wouldn't pass and nothing would interfere with his relationship with Tony T. But now he's like, oh my gosh, I got to vote against my party in order for the bill not to be passed. But if I vote against my party, then that means I lose, I probably won't have my seat. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know what he's gonna do. So then we see, okay. Then we see Craig gets mad at the coach for not playing Molly because he's like, that's your best player and you got your child on the field who's not even trying. He's picking his nose. And so the coach gets aggressive with Craig or whatever, and he was like, who are you? And he was like, nobody. I'm nobody. Craig is trying to back off. When have you Yeah, I thought this was too much. Like, I know they're trying to wrap this up, and I'm gonna admit the episodes are much better the last half than the first half to me, but they're also moving way too fast on certain things as well. Like, you had the whole season to try to build some type of relationship between Craig and Molly, and now you want to do that in like one episode. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, so Julia comes over and she's like, he's her father or whatever. And Craig is just like, yeah. And she's like, I got this. Like, I don't need a sidekick. I got this all on my own. And so anyways, Cash dad tells him to go to New York. He tells him, the reason why your mother and I worked so hard is so you could live your dreams. And if your dreams are, is to go to New York, be an actor, follow your dreams. Me and your brother will be okay. He was like, he can talk to you on FaceTime all the time. I talked to my brother. He was in the bathtub. So y'all will be okay. Or whatever. And he was like, okay. So then Zara and Craig get to talk to Julia and Molly, and they're all sitting down. And Molly is just like Craig. And so he gets up to teach her something about, because she plays soccer, kickball. And so he gets up to teach her, a move and everything. And Zara's like, oh, let's do Christmas together. And Julia's like, too soon, sis, too soon. So it was a cute little scene. So then Tony 2 says, okay, so then Andrew, he can't stop the bill. So he feels like I can't vote against my party. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save you, Tony 2. What I'm going to do, he goes to his house, right? And his Tony 2's family all comes out because they're like, who is this? He gets down on one knee and he asks Tony 2 to marry him. And they're like, do it. He loves you. Because he does. Because Tony 2 and Andrew do care for each other. He was like, I love you. Marry me and everything. And Tony 2 was like, are you going to marry my aunt? Are you going to marry my cousin, my grandpa, he was like, you can't marry us all. That's not the way to fix this. The way to fix this is by voting. Voting that you won't do this or whatever. And so he closes the door in Andrew's face. And so, okay. Then, I'm going to wrap them up, y'all. So then we see that it's time to vote for Andrew. And he decides he was going to vote for his party and just give up on 22. But at the end, he couldn't do it. And he makes a speech telling them what they were supposed to do for their people. They're supposed to open up the borders. They're not supposed to close them. You're supposed to let people in. And his party turns on him or whatever. They start throwing paper balls at him and everything. And, it's all in the news that Andrew is the reason, like, the border will not be closed. And the aunt was just telling Tony 2, like, you better marry him now because he's like, if there is another season, Andrew has just gave up his career for Tony 2. I guess we'll see next episode what exactly happens. But yeah, so I don't know. We'll see. So then Gemma and Duffy talk, and she tells him she has What am I right? Okay, so Gemma and Duffy talk, and she tells him like she misses the drive with him or whatever. She, really enjoyed that or whatever, and she was cool about him dating, and she's sorry she acted that way. So then they think that okay, that's it. Like she didn't have, because really she didn't tell him the real reason is that she likes him and she wants to date him, and she doesn't like that he dates other people. She just blames it on like, oh, I just miss you as a friend or whatever. So then she's walking away, right? And Maya and Cash go to see Mama Mia, and he tells her he can go to New York with her, and they're so excited and they kiss. Gemma sees it, and she sees Maya and Cash kissing, and she runs in back to Duffy, and he tells her he loves her because he thought she was running back for him, and she tells him, I love you too, or whatever. That she feels the same way. So then we see Andrew, before he made the whole speech and did it, he wanted to talk to Maya. So he tells her Maya's moving to New York. And we find out that Andrew gave Maya one of the letter of recommendation so that she could go to New York. But anyways, so before he he voted, he wanted to talk it over with Maya, but she wasn't there. And so he tells Ainsley that Maya is leaving for a job and she goes to New York or whatever. And I think she was leaving the next dang day. And so Ainsley's like, oh my gosh, that's what she's been trying to tell me. So she sends this mass text message out. Well, not mass, but she sends it to Craig, Duffy, Gemma, about needing to speak to them because of Maya. And it has to deal with Maya. They all think that she's found out about Cash. So they all go, right? So they're all over at Ainsley's house. And she's like, oh my God, like the way she's talking, they think she knows because she's like, oh my God, I can't believe she's doing this. Like that's what's been bothering her and why she couldn't talk to me. I wish she wasn't doing it. But how we're going to get her to stop and everything. So what do we do to stop? Make her stop. And she was so cool, calm, relaxed. And Duffy was just like, and Gemma wanted to know. She was like, I want you to know, I just found out about this an hour ago. And so it's Zara. Let me set it up. So Gemma is standing up behind the island in the kitchen. Duffy is sitting down. Duffy is sitting down in front of the island. Ainsley is in front of Duffy, and then Craig and Zara are kind of sitting on the side right there, on the side of the island. So they're all sitting down there talking. And, she's just telling them, oh my gosh, she has a glass of wine and everything. And she's just like, how are we going to stop her? And Duffy is just like, man, if Craig was sleeping with my ex-fiance, I would be livid. You're taking this so well. And she's like, excuse me, what? And so everybody was like, yeah, you are taking, you're taking it well. And she says, what are you talking about? I'm talking about Maya moving to New York. And they're all like, oh, yeah. That's what we were talking about or whatever. And she's like, is Maya sleeping with Cash? And they're like, nobody wanted to say anything. They didn't want to bring that up. Like no one wants to hurt her. And so Gemma finally says, yes. And Ainsley is like, no, you're wrong, because Maya would not do that to me. Because that's her friend. And Ainsley has been a good friend to Maya as well. And she's like, no, she would not do that to me or anything. And Maya's been no, I'm not going to say that. But, so at that moment, Maya came in and Craig is just like, oh my, Craig and Zara like, oh, snap. So Maya comes down, right? And so she's like, hey guys, everyone's here and whatever. And Ainsley turns around because she had our back to her when she was coming down because she was looking at Gemma and Craig and Zara. And so she turns around and she was like, Maya, are you sleeping with Cash? Are you dating Cash? Are you sleeping with my ex-fiance and everything? And Maya was just like, she couldn't say yes, but she couldn't say no. She was just like, what? She was like, are you sleeping with Cash? And she was just like, she slightly nodded her head yes, and Ainsley was like, oh my gosh. And then Maya's like, I'm so sorry. We didn't mean for this to happen. And Ainsley is like, so we're we now or whatever. You know what I mean? Because that means you're in a relationship, And so then Maya was like, I kept trying to tell you, and I couldn't find the right moments and everything. And Ainsley is just like, oh my gosh, like, I can't believe you did this. And she was like, don't say anything, because there's nothing you can say to me that will make this okay or whatever. And she says, he's airport guy. And Ainsley's like, what is that even supposed to mean? She was like, he's the guy from the airport. Remember, he was the, what did she call him? The caramel Ryan Gosling. Did she call him a caramel? So, anyways, y'all, Ryan Gosling, and she was like, at the birthday, and I didn't know it was him, and then, all this happened, and and Ainsley's like, so this has been going on 2 years, and everybody was just like, ooh, sis, because Craig never confronted her about it. Duffy never wanted to know more information about it, and Gemma just found out, so they're finding more information out as they go along. And so Ainsley just tells her, she says, so this is going on for 2 years, and Maya's like, no, I swear. And Ainsley says, how am I supposed to believe you? You're a liar. And she tells her, get your things, get out. I'm going over to Gemma's tonight. Get out of my house. I want you gone tomorrow, or whatever. So so Ainsley goes upstairs, and then of course Gemma has loyalty to Ainsley over Maya, so she goes upstairs, and then Duffy is just like, he goes upstairs, and Craig and Zara go upstairs as well. So that's how that whole thing goes, or whatever. And yeah, like, that's how it ended. No, that is not how it ended. I'm tripping. Forgive me. So that's how it ended with them. And then here goes Maya all upset and crying, because they have been crying. She was just crying. And so she goes over to Cash's place, and she knocks on the door. Cash comes out, and he's like, oh, and she's like, oh my gosh, she found out, and she knows, and she hates me and everything. I knew this was going to happen. Maya, I don't understand what she thought was going to happen. Like, and Cassius tells her, I love you. We could go to New York together. We could start over. We can make this work. It's just us. And she's just like, no, because I hurt my friend. I mean, I don't understand this. And so you slept with your friends. You've been hiding your emotions about Cash this whole time. Now you've been going on dates with him behind Ainsley's back while you live at her house. You took half of somebody's stuff. Like, I'm so done with Maya and Cash and all that. I'm like, I'm done with it. I don't even know. And then for all that to happen, she breaks up with him. You put us through all of this just to break up. Girl, get your ass off my screen. That's how I felt at the end of this whole show. I'm done. I'm going to watch this next episode, and then I'm done with this. Have a great evening.